Hello, Internet. I am Inquisitor Maxwell McGee, and I have played a lot of Dragon Age Inquisition.
And I'm Lorenzo Valoria, and I have not. But Max,
Sad.
want to know about this game.
Understandably so. It is quite good.
All right, so
enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, where are we at in the Dragon Age universe right now compared to the other games?
Okay, so Dragon Age Inquisition does it continues the story set up in Dragon Age Origins and in Dragon Age 2, and it actually takes place not long after the events of 2. Basically, there's a big civil war happening between mages and Templars, and they're running around the countryside killing each other. And they finally come together. They're trying to do some peace talks, and would you know it, it all just blows up in their face, quite literally, because of a mysterious green explosion that creates a demon spawning rift in the sky.
So this time, you're not playing the Grey Warden from the first game, or Hawk from the second game.
The hero of Kirkwall, I believe.
Yeah, you're actually a new guy. So what's up with the Inquisitor?
Right, so you get to roll up a completely new character, as is Dragon Age's wont. And basically what sort of sets you aside this time is that you have this special thing they end up calling the Anchor. I think at first they call it the Mark, later they call it the Anchor, but basically it's this little green light on your hand that you inherit after the aforementioned explosion occurs and wipes out, all the mages and Templars that were at this conclave. And basically what it allows you to do is the big, giant, swirling demon spawning rift is not only spawning demons, it's also spawning little tiny rifts that spawn their own little tiny demons. And so your anchor lets you actually close up these rifts, and that just makes you the most important person in the entire world. Everybody wants some of your business, and they want you to come and close up the rifts in their neighborhood. So that's sort of the thing that sets you apart and makes you special.
And then you get to run around Thetis, solving all kinds of people's problems.
Exactly.
And doing quests and that kind of thing. So how is the world in this one? In Dragon Age 2, everybody complained that it was way too small. You're just restricted to Kirkwall, and people wanted to go back to Origins, where you're just running around the country.
Yeah, and it seems
doing
like
all kinds of cool stuff.
BioWare is just taking that feedback and just run with it, because this game is massive. It's so big. The first area they actually drop you in, it's almost a little overwhelming, because you land there and you're sort of looking around and you start, talking to people, picking up quests, collecting, herbs and stuff, and pretty quickly the entire map just fills up with blip, 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 like blips of go here, help this guy, help that guy. There's stuff everywhere to do. And to just sort of reinforce how large and expansive these worlds are, the game actually gives you a mount to ride around on. It actually felt the need to give you a horse so that you can gallop across all these different landscapes. There's also fast travel options too if you want to be boring, but
So how'd you feel about the different things they're adding, like the customization, you could build out full armor sets and build out a weapon that looks just like you want it.
Right.
That's how they're telling.
Yeah, that stuff's all super fun. Again, that was something that sort of got scaled back in Dragon Age 2. You could customize Hawk's armor a lot, but your other party members, it was very minimal. In Inquisition, you can go super deep on every single character. You can not all the items and weapons, but most of them have these little slots where you can say, I'm wearing a suit of armor and I can equip different gauntlets or different boots to it, and that'll give me more strength and more willpower. And not only can you equip those accessories to your armor, you can also craft the accessories that you would then equip. So if you really want to just drill down on, I want a suit of armor that just gives everything into Constitution, just don't want to jack my Constitution way up, you can go in and just custom fit all the boots, all the gauntlets, every single part of the one piece of armor, and have it all fit together the way you like it. And the same thing applies too for certain weapons. Cool.
And, none of that armor or weapons that you're crafting are of any use unless you're going and fighting a bunch of guys. So, Dragon Age 2 did things a little bit differently, where they made it a little more active.
Right.
And Dragon Age Inquisition seems like it's doing kind of the same thing, but they brought back some of the tactics.
Yeah, it seems to find more of a harmonious balance between, because Dragon Age Origins, people really like that because you could pause the game, you could think, plan out your moves, plan out your strategies. 2, it was definitely a lot more action oriented. You were down there, the cameras were close to your character, and they put a lot of extra detail into just the flourishes and the animations of your moves. Inquisition tries to give you the best of both. They do bring back the top-down tactical camera, And one of the things that I really like that's a really nice improvement over how it was handled in Origins is that you can actually use the trigger, if you're playing with a gamepad, to smoothly speed up or slow down what's happening in the action instead of just a static pause, unpause. So that just gives you a little more fine control over the flow of the battle. So that's fun from sort of a strategic perspective. From just a fun, like, whacking on dudes action perspective, it's still got the same flourishes. It's still got all the same animation. Actually, the color palette in the game is a lot brighter and a lot more vibrant. I went back and looked at, Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and it's a lot of very muted browns and grays. But this game, like, the saturation is way up. Everything's super bright and in your face, and it makes the combat just pop that much more because all your fireballs and your lightning bolts are just leaping off the screen.
So how about the enemy encounters? Are they real tough this time around? You said you mentioned you ran into a dragon. And
right.
A dragon in that. Like, how are the tactics and all that stuff?
I played most of the game on you get 4 difficulties from the beginning, like easy, medium, hard, super hard. I started out on hard, played through that most of the game, but then I was kind of in a hurry, so I had to bump it down to easy. But a lot of the enemy encounters were fun. They were challenging, especially on hard mode. One thing I would have liked to have seen more is just having positioning play a bit more of a role. Like with some of your archer type characters, you can unlock a passive ability where they'll do more damage if they're firing from elevation. But besides that, there wasn't too much in the way of working with the environment or really getting into complex positioning, besides just, moving your melee guys to the front and bringing your archery guys to the back. So a little bit more interplay with environment and characters would have been appreciated, but otherwise, the challenge is definitely there.
So how do you feel about the story and the companion interaction? That was always a big thing with me with the Dragon Age games. Is I always wanted to talk to my companions a lot and get their full story.
Right.
Did you feel the same way with Inquisition, like
yeah,
building up your keep and doing all those kinds of things?
Yeah, you have a really large cast of characters to interact with, because not only are you talking to the characters you can bring with you in your party, but you also have, since you're the Inquisitor and you're leading this Inquisition, you have all of these advisors and helpers that are working with you as well, and you can actually, all those characters have their own like social interactions and sort of social quests that you can go on as well, so it's not just restricted to the immediate, like I think 9 characters you get in your party. So there's a lot of different people to interact with, and you're bound to find at least 1 or 2 that sort of fit your fancy, as it were.
One last thing I think we should touch on is the multiplayer. They
Right.
added multiplayer in for the 3rd entry in the series, and
Right.
it was kind of a surprise, kind of how BioWare added multiplayer into Mass Effect 3.
Yeah,
So-
it definitely follows that same sort of formula that Mass Effect 3's multiplayer setup. You fight against these waves of enemies, and you accrue experience points and level up your character, and buy new items to equip them and stuff. I think it works a little bit better in Mass Effect 3 just because controlling a single character, which is what you're doing in multiplayer, feels a lot more engaging in Mass Effect 3 than it does in this game, because in Mass Effect, you're running around, you're jumping between spots of cover, you're switching between weapons, you're reloading your weapons, you're managing all your abilities. Whereas I found playing the multiplayer in Dragon Age, since it doesn't have that interplay of like having all these different weapons at your disposal and running around between cover, you're mostly just, like if you're playing a cast, you're mostly just hanging out, waiting for your cooldowns to refresh while throwing out fireballs. And then one thing that's big in the single player, of course, is pausing the game and maneuvering all your troops. That's also something you don't really get to do in the multiplayer. So it's similar, but just doesn't quite measure up.
All right, overall, what did you think of Dragon Age Inquisition, and would you score it?
I really enjoyed Dragon Age Inquisition. There is a ton of super fun content to discover and enjoy, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5.
For more on Dragon Age Inquisition and for the full written review, check out GamesRadar.com.